So in my times with God, I'm working through the Old Testament. I have this cultural background study Bible, and it's been really helpful to get the context of what's written in the culture and to the people that's written to. It's been really, really helpful. So I'm working my way through it. I'm not going front to back. I'm kind of jumping around book by book. So I've been in the Old Testament quite a bit. And in First Chronicles, I read something that was subtle, yet I think has really lasting implications. It was really my takeaway from the reading. So at this point in the story where I pick up is David. And David's had many victories at this point. It seems almost everything that he touches, he has victory in, and God blesses him time and time again. And now he wants to do something for God. He wants to create the house of the Lord, a temple for God. But God says, no, David, that's not for you to do. You've shed much blood, and you've fought many wars, and you've shed blood in my sight. You're not the one to build that temple for me. However, you're going to have a son. And this son is going to have peace and rest. And in his time as king, he will have peace and rest from his enemies. And he's the one that will build the temple for me. At face value, it's like, okay, cool. But just think about that. Even though God is saying, David, I know it's your heart's desire to do this for me. That's not your job. I have another job for you to do. But I have someone who's going to do that for me. And it's just amazing because how many times do we spin our wheels doing stuff that it's not for us to do. It may be someone else's job. Now, that doesn't mean to not try and to sit at home, with your hands in your lap twiddling your thumbs. But before we take on new projects or we take life risks, am I praying? Am I seeking God's guidance before I make this decision? Before I go on this venture? Because what if God's like, no, Steve, I appreciate your heart, but I got something else for you to do. I want you to work on this. And I could be spinning my wheels going in the wrong direction. When instead, if I just spent time with God and in his company, he would guide me towards what the right way to go is. And then I think about what a gift it is that God's like, listen, I know that's what you want to do. You're not the one to do it, but your son will. The next best thing is for your son to do it. Not only will your son build this for me, but I'm going to give him peace and rest. And what more could you ask for your son who's going to be the next king of a nation? Is like, you're going to have peace and rest. Even that is a blessing. So then David goes and he talks to his son Solomon. And he starts off by saying, son, you're going to be the one to do this great thing that you've seen me preparing for, but you're the one to do it. I'm not the one to do it. And I just think about that charge of a father giving his son purpose. Like, what a blessing that is. And then we go on to see what David says. He says, may the Lord give you discretion and understanding when he puts you in command over Israel so that you may keep the law of the Lord your God. And this is something so small, but I think this may have changed the trajectory of Solomon's life. And David's telling him, may God give you wisdom and knowledge. This is one of the defining characteristics of what makes Solomon Solomon, is when he finally does become king and God comes and asks him, Solomon, what do you want? And Solomon says, essentially, I want wisdom, I want knowledge, I want understanding so I can lead your people. And God says, wow, you could have asked for fame, possessions, honor, yet you ask for wisdom, knowledge, understanding, so that you can lead my people well? Rightly so. And I will give you those things. On top of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, I'm going to also give you honor, possessions. And think about that. How many times in my life I could have saved myself so much heartache if I would just have the right mindset before God? And a lot of times when I finally get to that point, I'm like, okay, God, you know best. And he's like, finally, Steve, this is where I wanted to get you to. And now that you're here, I'll give you the things that you really did want, as well as the things I knew you needed. But I think about how this may have started just from this conversation with David and what he says to his son Solomon. He's like, listen, may God give you these things so you can lead them well. And then it's just like a chain of events. It says, may he give you these things when he puts you in command over Israel so that you may keep the law of the Lord your God. And then you will have success if you are careful to observe the decrees and laws that the Lord gave Moses for Israel. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or be discouraged. And I love this, success comes when we honor God in our ways. And I've seen that in my own life. And it may not be success in the way I define it initially, but as I look back, I see the success that God gave me when I did honor him as better than the success I would have defined as success at the onset. And then I love this last part, be strong and courageous. Reading through the minor prophets and reading through the Old Testament, it seems like time and time again when God calls someone to be a prophet or to be a leader, there's always this charge to be strong and courageous. There are times he's like, listen, don't be afraid. And multiple times he repeats himself over and over again to really get it out there. Hey, don't be afraid. Be strong, be courageous. And so many times I hear people say religion, Christianity is for the weak. And you picture a Christian as someone like Ned Flanders, just kind of, getting walked all over. But when I look back at the people that David surrounded himself with, the mighty men, the things that these guys did was incredible. They weren't these weaklings just like floating through life like, oh, whatever you say. No. If that were so, why would God be saying, be strong, be courageous, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged? Well, because there will be times that it will take strength. There will come times when it will take courage. There will be times when normally you would be scared or even get discouraged, but you push on anyway. I was thinking, it's like, okay, it's easy to say when someone's scared, hey, don't be scared. It's like, oh, thanks for saying that. Now I'm not scared because you said so. But how do we do that? I think that David gives a little hint in 1 Chronicles 22, verse 19. He says, now devote your heart and soul to seeking the Lord your God. Now this is David saying this to the leaders of Israel to help his son Solomon. This is the charge he gives them. But I think about how much strength, how much courage, how to not be afraid and give way to that fear or that discouragement. And I think the answer is right here. It's simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. And it's simply to devote your heart and soul to seeking the Lord your God and drawing strength from God, drawing that courage from God, acting unafraid when we may be afraid, and not giving into discouragement. And I don't think it's don't feel those things. I think it's don't act on those feelings. God gives a promise throughout his word that if you do seek him with all your heart, you will find him. That's a promise. You can hold him to that. I may be feeling discouraged. I may be scared. I may feel no courage at all, but I'm going to choose and act as if I had courage, and choose and act as if I was not afraid or I was not discouraged. And I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling weak or not feeling courageous or being scared or discouraged. Those are normal things that we go through in life, for sure. But I think it's making the decision to say, you know what, even though I may feel this way, I'm going to act as if I were strong, courageous, unafraid, not discouraged. And then the emotions will follow afterwards, because sometimes we just need to take the action first and make that choice. And now this is different from looking at someone with depression and saying, hey, don't be depressed or anxious. It's like, okay, that's not helpful and it doesn't work. But I do think there are times when we have a choice that, you know what, I am scared. But you know what, let me rise to the challenge. And you know what, maybe that's hard, but I think that David gives us that hint with devoting our hearts and our souls to God, and he will give that to us. And so, that's what I got out of reading 1 Chronicles 22. And what I love about God's word is I could read this time and time again, and a little piece will stick out to me here that didn't hit me this time. And I love it. And I keep getting more and more out of it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.